he wanted to go. He put himself in harm's way, and it's all about fighting for the country. It's all it was about, fighting for the United States of America.
What's up, Kent?
Hey, how you doing today?
All right, man. Thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you inviting.
To start off, just if you don't mind, just tell me a little bit about where you're from, where you were born, and a little bit about your upbringing.
Okay, I'm Kent Blackburn. I was in the United States Navy for 4 years, active duty. I came out of the Navy as a E5 petty, which is a petty officer second class, and I went into the Army. I went in the Army as a sergeant, which is an E5. Then my final rank, once I retired, I was an E7, E7 sergeant. Most of my life was here in Roanoke, Virginia, but I was actually born in Fort Myers, Florida. Lived there for the first 8 years of my life, and mother and father almost got divorced because Mom said we kept getting sick because of mosquitoes, bugs, and mother told Dad, well, if we don't go back up north, they're originally from West Virginia, so Dad took a job down in Florida at some point. And so anyway, we migrated back up from Fort Myers to Roanoke about the age of 8, and I'm 54, so I've been here in Roanoke, been residing in Roanoke since. So basically schooling here at Patrick Henry High School, and then basically right out of high school, and my upbringing of my life, take it back, had a very simple life. Mother and Dad, didn't have a lot, and pretty much we wanted some things on our own. We had to figure a way out to get it because my parents didn't really have the money for us. But we figured it out as kids, and so grew up that way. And after high school, I didn't really necessarily want to go to college, so my dad really he enticed me, or he's the one is the reason why I went in the military. There's 4 siblings, and I'm the only one out of my family that, besides my father, was in the military, and so I decided to go in the Navy right out of high school.
What branch was your dad in?
My dad was in the Army.
Okay.
He was in the Korean War, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he inspired you to go into the Navy, huh?
Very. Yeah. Well, I kind of made that choice myself. I could have went I wanted to go in the Marines, actually. That was with him a no. Absolutely. And so I had a recruiter from the Navy. Why I went to the Navy because I figured I had a better field to go into versus the Army. Wasn't really crazy about some of the options the Army gave me over the Navy. So that's why I chose the Navy over the Army.
What job did you choose?
Well, I had several of them I could have chosen, but I actually end up my rate, as the Navy calls it, I was a radioman, REM. I was a radioman.
Okay. So, and what did that job entail?
That job entailed, it was a communications type field there, and what we did was we ran the communication systems on where I was stationed. My very first station, I was on a vessel called the USS Mount Whitney, and we were a communication comm station.
Where'd you go to boot camp?
I went to boot camp in lovely San Diego, California.
Nice.
Now today they don't. The only boot camp sites for the Navy today is Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yes. Mm-hmm. They no longer go to boot camp in San Diego.
How was boot camp for you at that time, transitioning from your life into a military world?
I tell you what, never been so scared in my life because I was just turned 18. I graduated at 17 out of high school. I'd never been on a plane in my life, and first thing I was doing, I was being flown to San Diego and had to stop in the biggest airport in America, Chicago. still remember today on that plane. I got on there, of course, nervous as always. Didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. Actually, I started crying when we were landing in Chicago. I had no idea how to get to my next gate. and I still remember this man's name today. His name was Michael Centro. Michael Centro. I was crying. He said, "What's wrong, son?" I said, "I don't know how to get to my next gate." And I tell you what, if it wasn't for him, I don't know what. But he got me to the gate.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
What was it like showing up at boot camp?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm like, what in the hell am I doing here? What am I doing? It was very frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, they got you off the bus in San Diego, and I think I didn't get there till 1 o'clock in the morning, and no sleeping. No, you're not going to bed. You're getting processed in. That was an all-night thing, and then first thing after you're processed in, and whatever, getting all your uniforms put together, blah blah, and all. And of course, then you had to go to the haircut station. You had to go to the barber, get your head shaved, which I've never had my head shaved before in my life at that point. So, yeah, I tell you what, it was very trying, and it was pretty scary.
Yeah. How long was boot camp?
Boot camp was 12 weeks in the Navy, and I don't know how many times I didn't think I was going to make it through that process.
Really?
Yes, and the scariest thing was some of the education courses you had to take, and if you didn't pass them, you get set back in boot camp. It prolongs your time. So that was biggest thing was education, going through boot camp with the Navy versus the field tactics and things like that.
Can you recall any stories in boot camp?
Yeah, there was a few people that tried to commit suicide a few times.
Really?
Yeah, and went MIA. Next thing you know, and of course, I think they got dishonorable discharge, those things, and luckily I recall one of the sailors was standing night duty in the barracks, and another sailor tried to hang himself. So luckily, it wasn't. Got him just in time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So,
where did you go after boot camp?
after boot camp, I went to what they called you go to your school. It's called your A school, and that's for your field. So it's communicate. So I was a radioman, so I went to radioman school.
Okay.
In San Diego.
What types of things were you learning in that school?
You learn how to type way the Navy types. It's not exactly like a regular typewriter. You had to learn crypto type typing. It's tough to remember, but yeah, it's pretty tough. I mean, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And of course, it was another thing about education with them. You didn't pass certain parts of your test through that school, you get set back.
So it sounds like you were consistently being tested.
Yes, all the time.
Even after boot camp.
Even after boot camp, yeah, in the Navy. And then it's just like, to a certain extent, college out here. It's totally different from which most places you learn college than what you do you actually go to your job or what have you. And it could be two different things.
So did you get through school?
I got through school, and basically I liked San Diego, to be honest with you. I finally finished A school and finished on time. I didn't get set back or anything what they call, after you go to school, you do what they call a dream sheet. What duty station you want to go to. Mm-hmm. And so I dream sheeted to stay out a couple of bases in California. My last option was Norfolk, Virginia, because it's from, close to my home, close to here. And sure enough, I got Norfolk, Virginia. That's wasn't too happy about that, to say.
So what was it like for you initially getting dropped to your new unit in Virginia?
Yeah. It was nothing but nerves running from my head to my toes again, and I didn't know where I was going. Next thing I know, we'll see where my station was in Norfolk was on the USS Mount Whitney, and it was in dry dock. It was in the shipyards in Portsmouth when I arrived, and we were there for the first year. And so it wasn't, we weren't out to sea for about a year after I arrived at that duty station on the USS Mount Whitney.
So what was your typical day like there?
Basically, it's like a regular job, 8 to 5. Now, they had it's called a watch rotation. You're in a section, and there's, because there was 80 of us that I recall that were our radiomans that manned the communication station there, and we were in section and rotations, and every 4 days you had to stay in 24-hour watch. So other than that, though, it was basically an 8 to 5 job. Sometimes overtime, maybe late, just like it's basically like your regular civilian job to a certain extent. But I had to wear dungarees all the time.
Mm-hmm. What are those?
Uniform. It's the Navy working uniform.
Okay.
Which I didn't care for either.
Yeah. So you said you're on land for the first year, huh?
Yeah.
Does that mean you eventually took the ship, or?
We were on the ship. We were actually working on the ship. We were rehabbing the ship. So we had to rehab our communication station. Everything was gutted pretty much on the ship. So
Okay.
we worked and lived. I worked and lived on the ship.
Okay.
Yep. And the barracks, there's nothing to write home to mom about either.
What was the barracks like?
Oh gosh, we were 3 stacked, top, middle bunk, 3 bunks stacked. Very little space, very small. You have 1 small locker space. You had to learn to adapt to that type of living. It's tough.
This was on a ship?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty tight, huh?
It's real tight.
With all your gear and all
All
that?
your gear, yes. Yeah. You had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that's part of the military life.
Yeah. Did you eventually have to get on ship and go deploy or go on float or anything?
Well, eventually, our first when we got out of dry dock, we went around the Atlantic Ocean, doing like exercising, testing the vessel out, make sure there's no issues, no problems, before we actually went on any type of cruise. Like eventually, I got to go on a med cruise, which was nice, but. Before then, yeah. Actually, I don't think we actually went on a real cruise for a couple of years after I got in.
What's a med cruise?
Med cruise is where you're in the mid-Atlantic, and of course, every time you go out on a cruise, you're actually doing war-type exercises, and my specialty was to communicate with other vessels that are out there in our fleet. But anyway, we communicate between running exercises out there, and we were out there for a couple of months before we actually were able to go on shore.
Can you talk about what the significance of what you were doing is, the communication? Because I know communication is a very important aspect of the military. It's can you just talk a little bit about why that job is so important?
Well, yeah, it's so important to detect the enemies, pretty much, who's out there trying to invade invade the United States of America, and we were able to communicate and make sure that there was no enemy vessels out there. And of course, at that time, Russia was pretty much our main enemy.
So were you essentially intercepting enemy communications, trying to listen in on what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on their side? Yep, yeah. Be able to decipher what's happening with them.
Did you ever get messages from them?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And of course, we were able to intercept it all. And there was, we never ran into any contact as far as, but there was a little bit of threats here and there, and then we gave them ultimatum.
What type of threats were they?
Well, that that they're coming to, coming near us, coming to our, and who knows what they were, what they were trying to do, but it's something that you cannot, you'd have to brace yourself for who knows what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Could be anything, huh?
Could have been anything. War, right on the sea,
right.
With another, yeah. So.
While you're on the med float, did you get a chance to visit any ports, any other countries?
That is the best thing about the Navy. I'll never take that back as far as where I went. Went all over Europe. Without the military, I would never seen other parts of the world. We went to Lisbon, Portugal, France, Germany, Scotland, Spain, Finland, Denmark, Holland, went window shopping.
What years were you in?
I was in from 1984. In the Navy, I was in 1984 to 1988.
In the Navy, were you part of another branch? Or?
Yeah, after I got out of the Navy, I went into the Naval Reserves for a couple years.
Okay.
And then my unit here in Roanoke was deployed. They were transferred to Jacksonville, Florida. And at that time, I wasn't able to keep going on the reserves 1 week in a month. Reserves was 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year. Mm-hmm. And I had a full-time job. There's no, even that weekend, there's no way I could go back and forth from Roanoke to Florida, even on those weekends. So I got out of the Naval Reserves. And then I got out a couple of years, and then I was working here in Roanoke. I was working for Virginia Transformers, was the company I was working for. And there was a fella there that he was in the Army Reserves and here in Salem, Virginia. He says, "Why don't you come join the Army?" Because I still was young, and I missed the military. Of course, it's like anything else. It's up. You have your ups and downs, mm-hmm. and a lot of things in the military. I'm not sure why I'm still here doing this shit, but anyway, I joined the Army Reserves.
Wow.
A couple years after that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I was 86. I think 1989 is when I joined the Army Reserves, and I did that. I was an Army Reservist for 20 years.
Wow.
So I have a total of alt services, active and reserve, 28 years total.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was your job in the Army?
The Army, we was infantry. I was an
Really?
infantry. I was 11 Bravo.
Wow.
And I had such a great time too with the Army. And it's two different type of services, but they both, have their. There's a reasons why we have the Navy, the Army, Air Force, and Marines. So, I was infantry, but our specialty with our unit here in Roanoke, we were an actual training unit.
Okay.
So, we actually trained on our active training when we went to active duty 2 weeks out of the year during the summer. Majority of the time while I was in this unit, we went to we went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and we trained college cadets on different basic Army fundamentals. Like one year it may be M16s, how to break it down, fire them. Next year it could be NBC, hand grenades, what have you. So that was we were actually a training unit, even though I was an infantry, MOS, as they call it especially in the Army.
So, did you have to go to Army boot camp?
I did not.
You
But
didn't?
I did not. So, and even my rank transferred too. I didn't lose rank,
Awesome.
thing like that. So that was another great incentive to go into the Army. So, so then, but I had to go through a 2-week, they called it a refresher course, but I had to learn something, the Army's, how they operated,
Right.
Even the uniforms. It's the way you wear the uniforms in the Army is it's different from the way you do things in the Navy.
You were in for a long time. What year did you get out?
I got out of the Army. It's been now, I think this is April. I got out April of 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm 54 years old. And I went in the Navy when I was just turned 18. So,
Okay.
and of course, there was a few years. I didn't have anything to do with the service.
So you were in. It sounds like you might have been in the Army during Desert Storm.
I was. Yes.
Did you partake in that at all?
I did partake in Desert Storm, and I was only there for 6 months. Some of my other soldiers that are in the unit with me, they were there 15 to 16 months. But believe it or not, a lot of them were medical units and they were medical MOSs and transportation MOSs. Those were the ones that were that they had no option, but they had to be there.
What was it like there, being there for 6 months?
No, I tell you what, for me, knock on wood, wasn't that bad. I pretty much just, I held security around, they called the fob, where we lived, where we stayed. So I really didn't have to venture out, out there in other missions and be in danger, things like that. So it wasn't too bad of a duty for myself.
Yeah.
But a few of my folks in our unit wasn't so good.
Really?
Yeah, we all came back alive, but I just feel bad for them. They lost their families, some of them PSTD. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And some of them, they come back. We were all niche type. We were like a family outside of the family, and some of them didn't actually. They come back. They almost didn't know who you were. It's
I
pretty
mean,
sad.
even being at a FOB, which is correct me if I'm wrong, forward operating base, is that right? I know you said you didn't go out and conduct any type of missions, but
Yep.
being at a FOB, you are conducting a mission, right?
Yeah.
Protecting that,
Yes.
protecting that base.
Yeah.
And I understand, sometimes FOBs take mortar fire and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So,
Oh yeah.
you
Yep.
were in danger.
Yeah, at all times, of course. Yeah, you had to
Right.
have you had to have one eye open at all times.
What was it like?
It's pretty peaceful for me most of the time,
Yeah.
and where I was at. But I mean, we were spread out. I was in Iraq, so some of them were in Kuwait, some of them were in Afghanistan. And heard some stories from them. Like I said, it was close call. There was a lot of close calls.
Yeah.
But we all came back. Within that time we mobilized to time we were all back together. About 15, 16 months later, except for a couple of folks that kind of mentally not good.
Did it affect you at all?
It did some, yes, it did. I've never been diagnosed with PSTD, but I can tell I have a slight mild case of it. My wife even says, there's something wrong with you. You zone out sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. But it could be age too, I tell her. But I'm fortunate overall. I didn't,
How does
I got my limbs, I got my eyes, I can see. I'm so thankful.
yeah. Does your wife describe it any other way to you? Like
Yep.
some of the things that she notices?
Yeah, she noticed I talk to myself a lot. Some things I say in my sleep. Sometimes I have flashbacks. Not often, not all, but every once in a while, she can tell I was affected by it.
Not many people
Yep.
experience what it's like being in a combat zone.
I know. No.
So reasonably so, it affects.
Yeah, and sometimes you may think some of us, we may not care to talk about it sometimes
Yeah.
because it does bring back not such great memories. And that's not me. I'm okay, but I know some of my, some that I talk to, they don't want to discuss it.
What do you think about them not wanting to talk about it?
It's tough to fathom, understand why. But then again, I just don't think they want to bring back the bad memories of what it was. It was nothing. I mean, what was so great about it? And seeing, they saw, I'm sure they saw, I didn't see it, but people dying, kids getting killed. It's devastating. So I think and some of them probably just their memory's not there. They just don't know. I mean, they've lost their memory, lost their mind.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
actually that's one of the symptoms of PTSD is memory loss.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. And they just really don't know. It's sad. Like I said, I had a few of them in my reserve unit. They didn't remember who I was, some of them, a few of them.
Really?
Yeah. After I go back, tell them I'm Kent Blackburn. Remember? Oh, okay. It's crazy. It was just the craziest, weirdest thing.
You said you didn't get out till 2017, so that tells me that you might have been part of either OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, or
Yeah, I was never deployed there.
okay.
I still was in my unit here, but now of course there was a few of them in my unit were deployed, and some of them they signed up to go too. So, but one of them didn't come back. That I recall. Later on, one of our soldiers in our unit didn't make it. He didn't get. Well, I knew an IED hit him. He lost a lot of sight in his right eye, and I think his body got chemically embalmed. My understanding, he didn't make it.
Do you remember his name?
Sergeant Mark Williams. Yes, Sergeant Mark Williams. Just he was a top of the notch soldier. He really knew his stuff. This guy, he a badass. He was, and he wanted to go. I mean, he put himself in harm's way, and it's all about fighting for the country. That's all it was about. Fighting for the United States of America.
You know what I've noticed is
And I'd do it again today if they call.
One of the common things I've noticed is people that've been deployed out there, when you're there, you get like that big adrenaline rush, that hypertensity.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When you get back to the rear,
Yep.
that goes away.
Yeah.
And you're itching for that again.
For that again. Yes. Yep. It's just that some of them are, some people are built like that. They just like you said, that intensity. It's just, that's their life at them. They want to, I ain't gonna say they want to kill people, but they want to make sure that nothing happens to their families and the American.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they do that.
So you were in for a long time. Do you recall any other significant stories about your military service, and whether sad or happy or just,
Yeah, I remember getting the commander's coin 2 or 3 times.
Oh, yeah?
And when we was on active training, and I was the sergeant, the sergeant duty. I was a sergeant that was in control of our unit for a hand grenade range one time, and it ran real well. And the colonel presented me the commander's coin in front of 300 soldiers.
Wow.
Yeah. The tears in my eyes. I didn't know I did that great of a that great of a job, but
That's another theme with veterans, is them downplaying what they've done in the military service. This is part of the big reason why we're doing this, Kent, is, we want you to know, and the rest of the vets know, that it is a big deal.
yes.
I imagine you got that coin for your leadership.
Yep, your leadership, exactly. I wish I could express my thoughts a little better here, but no. And then I got another one. We were in where were we? Fort Knox, Kentucky, on this one, and we were running the NBC range, and the general came out during while we were training the college cadets on NBC, and he was very impressed how our unit was running the chambers, and so he presented me and 2 others with the commander's coin.
Another commander's coin?
Yeah, I had 2 of them.
Wow. That's awesome.
I have an Army Achievement Medal and a Navy Achievement Medal.
Nice. Can you explain for people that don't know what NBC is?
NBC is nuclear, biological, chemical training. That's warfare. But it's actually where you actually you go in. It's called, you go into the short way. You go into the chamber, to the gas chamber, and you're in MOP 4. You have your MOP 4 gear on, your mask, your MOP 4 mask, and they get you to go. You go in there, they make sure you're breathing okay, and then they'll ask you to unmask. And it's just showing what could happen if it was a chemical warfare,
Right.
what it could be. And yeah.
That actually came into play during Operation Iraqi
Yes.
Freedom, right?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
I believe everybody was in pretty much
Yeah.
a specific MOP level for the first couple of weeks. huh?
Yep. And we trained them from MOP level 1 all the way up to MOP level 4. That was our duty for that training year. It's I knew it, like I said, I loved it. Wouldn't take it back, but there's a reason. It's meaning behind it.
Did you get to deploy at all with the Army, go see any other countries?
No, basically, being a reservist other than Desert Storm, like I said, I was here in the States during that time. And, you know, I was say it was unfortunate or fortunate. But, you know, as you see, it was, you know, from our, you know, our disabled veterans today.
What it feel like in 2017 to retire after so much years of service?
Oh man, yeah, it's. I'm trying to think of the word. It was bittersweet, really was. You know, sometimes enough's enough of doing something for so long. Like today, my civilian career. Get my military retirement here in about 4 or 5 years, and I'm gonna be able to slow down and hopefully, you know, live life, you know, not a little less stressful, a little less stress, but I still, you know, keep in touch with a lot of my friends back at the Army. You know, majority of them are still there. And I miss it. I do, but I don't miss the weekend. I don't miss having to go in at 6 o'clock on a Saturday. Seemed like every weekend we had that drill. Had something more important to do. You know, but wouldn't take it back.
What's it like to, you build that camaraderie in the military service with people where even if you don't even talk to one of your fellow service members for years, and then when you talk to them again, it feels like you haven't skipped a beat.
I know.
Right? Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, to an example, they know a lot of them know what I do. You know, as far as mortgage lending, we do VA loans, and you know, there was, you know, our unit had over, in and out, we had over thousands of people during my time. So, but I recall, you know, the close niche ones that I saw every drill period, and one of them just called me the other day. I hadn't seen him since I got out in 17, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss you, man. It's just like, you know, it's unexplainable. Yeah.
It's like no other bond, is it?
There's no other bond. Thanks for, no, absolutely not. It's, they're brothers and sisters the rest of my life.
That's right. I mean, even with the ones that you didn't serve with, when you run into somebody, you see someone with an Army shirt or a Navy shirt, and you're just like instant.
It's like it's my family. Like, you're my family. Yeah, absolutely. You know, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And you hug them, you know, regardless what service you was in. Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army, Coast Guard.
Are you part of the VA healthcare system?
Yes, sir, I am. You know, I've actually been part of that for 15 years. They have taken care of me. I have ACL surgery on my left knee, meniscus tear on my right. I feel like my knees are brand new today. I didn't not knee replacements. I just did the surgeries on them. And I hear how people out here seem to be very disappointed with the VA health care. They have always treated me like a king.
Yeah.
Always. And I get a physical once a year through them. I see my primary care, the VA, twice a year.
I mean, on their behalf, in their defense, they're pretty overwhelmed, aren't they?
Oh, I feel bad for them. Yeah, and I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Any of your injuries, have they been service connected?
No, I have no service-connected disability. But everyone around me, all of them, you know, they have hearing they've had hearing problems and going out on ranges and, and just being, under loud fire and not having their earplugs in on time, what have you. Sure.
Have you tried to get them service connected?
I haven't, because my logic of thinking, my opinion, and everybody, I don't have any problems with anyone. I feel healthy. They take care of me. I feel like I shouldn't be drawing a check from them. That's my opinion. But, when you've lost your limbs and eyes, hey, those are the people I think should be priority over. And some use the system. Some go, they'll give them 10, 20, 30% disability. My opinion, there's nothing wrong with them. So I have different emotions and, like I said, opinions about that.
Well, you did, what was it, 27, 28 years of service?
Yeah, total.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that none of your injuries are service connected.
I know. I'm going to say I'm not the most fortunate, lucky, and just thankful.
Yeah.
Because it's a high percentage of people that went through what I've gone. They're not here today.
That's the mindset of many vets.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's the mindset of many veterans that actually need some help.
Yes, absolutely. And some of them are looking. I feel they're getting bypassed on it. It makes you angry.
Earlier, you mentioned that your wife talks to you about you showing some symptoms of some post-traumatic stress. Have you tried getting help through the VA with that?
Yes, actually, it's very mild. But here in the last couple of years, and I can't blame it on COVID or anything, but it's increasingly, I can tell, it's starting to it's getting a little worse. So I think I'm one to go talk to them about it and
Good.
See what they think, get tested, see what they think.
I think you should.
Yeah. Sometimes I get angry over something for no reason. And every once in a while, but somebody will say something. I get so wound up and uptight about it, and really wasn't like that before.
Well, we really need to take care of ourselves, right?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Absolutely.
And you deserve it. You've given this country 28 years of your life.
But I think, to me, that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. And that's, the mindset of many veterans out
Yep.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, everybody's, their appreciation, their thanks. But for me, that's what I was supposed to do.
We're getting ready to wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to say before we cut the tape?
Just I recommend anyone coming out of high school today doesn't explore college, some type of technical skill, go in the military, serve our country, and because we need you. Please, we need you. And me, I got the GI Bill. I got a college and I got a bachelor's degree through in accounting from Radford University here. And guess what my final bill was when I finished the bachelor's degree? Because of the GI Bill, only paid $2,000 for my college degree. My parents didn't have it.
Nice.
Yep.
Listen, Kent, I appreciate your service. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of people that you're
Yep.
going to impact by being here today and telling your story.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having me today.
Yes, sir.
Push it to the limit, I can't go